Okay, we have 7 p.m. on Thursday, February 6th, here in Historic Town Hall. As we open the meeting, I would just like to remind everyone that we're being televised and recorded by Sandwich Community Television. May we start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here for public comment? I don't believe we have a set of minutes that have been distributed. Okay.
And I'll just note that the person that does the minutes for us, it's the silly season of meetings, so they may be a little slower this time of year.
Indeed. So, on to town manager report.
I am pinch hitting today. Glad to be here. I'm glad we have a quorum. Just a few brief reports for you. We met with the CPA committee on Monday evening, and I'll give a little bit more detail on that, but that went very successfully. And then on Tuesday evening, we had our Finance Committee meeting, and Bud did his full budget presentation on Tuesday evening. And I'd say that was received very well. There are a few questions, a little bit more information, but really they're just absorbing what was being presented that evening. And they have a full lineup of items scheduled through the end of March, starting with next week. Their meeting, they'll have the school committee and their school superintendent in to do the school budget. So that will be the first kind of kickoff of the individual budget sessions. Just a quick inquiry from you, for all of you. If we get health insurance information back that is within the realm of what we've budgeted for, are you comfortable with Bud issuing the budget binders to the Finance Committee on Tuesday and then to the Select Board on Thursday?
I'd be comfortable with that.
Yeah. Normally, yes. He really likes to get them to you first, but things are a little different this year.
Understood.
And then just lastly, just a brief item. There are sort of generally concerns about federal budgets and how that might affect municipalities. The town doesn't have much in the way of federal grants. They're generally for specific items, whether it's FEMA reimbursement, COVID funding, or grants for specific public safety items. So there aren't any of those that are currently open. There are several within the school department, and I'm sure they're watching those very closely in terms of what that will look like, not just for the remainder of this year, but for next year. But they do rely heavily on federal grants for some of their special programming. So that's something we'll want to monitor and talk with them about.
Yes, yes. Their budget presentation is Tuesday night, and then they've got there's a school committee meeting on Wednesday, so I'm sure that these aspects of life will be discussed. Thank you very much.
And then Monday evening, this upcoming Monday meeting is the Capital Improvement Planning Committee. So we'll be presenting the capital budget to them for their review. They usually take a meeting or two, but we like to have them have the opportunity to review and make recommendations prior to the Finance Committee's recommendations, so they have that in hand when they're making their decisions.
What time is that, if I may?
That is at 4 p.m.
And that's in this building?
Is in the 100 Route 6A.
Thank you. Anybody else?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
That is it for me.
Thank you. Correspondence, statements, and announcements. Just to echo, I don't like to reiterate, but echo that I was at the CPC meeting and and FinCom. Everything went extraordinarily well, in my opinion. Thank you very much. Okay. Staff meeting. We have a public hearing, liquor license transfer of annual off-premise wine and malt license from Lambert's of Cape Cod to Lambert's Market, Inc., 271 Catuit Road. Ann Perry, the proposed manager. So, in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 138, the Sandwich Select Board will hold a public hearing on Thursday, February 6th, 2025, at 7:05 p.m. in Sandwich Historic Town Hall Auditorium, located at 130 Main Street, Sandwich, Massachusetts, to consider the application for a transfer of an annual off-premises wine and malt liquor license from Lambert's of Cape Cod, located at 271 Katuitt Road, Sandwich, Massachusetts, 02563. Adam Lambert as manager, to Lambert's Market, Inc., and Perry as manager. Anyone wishing to be heard on the subject will be afforded an opportunity at that time. Motion to open the public hearing, please.
Make a motion, we open the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
A roll call vote, please. Aye, 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 it's unanimous.
Great.
Good
Thank you very
evening.
much. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Attorney Christopher Corain, representing Lambert's Market, Inc. With me tonight is Patrick Quello. He is one of the owners of the entity that is going to purchase or has under agreement the Lambert's Market, along with his brother is also one of the proposed owners. Also with us tonight is Patrick's wife, Ann Perry, who is the proposed manager for the Lambert's Market, Inc. So again, what we're here tonight for is the transfer of the liquor license. This is one of the contingencies in the sale of the business. So we need to go through the local licensing process first, and hopefully if we get the approval at this stage, we'll next go to the ABCC for final approval. Generally speaking, when I come before these boards for liquor licenses, there's basically two findings that the board makes. It's need and qualification. In this case, it's an already existing establishment with a liquor license, so need really isn't an issue, so it really is qualification. And I would suggest to this board that Patrick is well qualified. Patrick is one of the owners of the Oliver and Planks Tavern in Yarmouth, so he's owned that since August of 2022. So he is certainly well familiar with the sensitivity to the nature of serving alcohol. At Oliver and Planks, Patrick can correct me if I'm wrong, but about 35% of their service is bar-related and liquor-related. So there's certainly a sensitivity. There's even a greater sensitivity when you're talking about on-premises drinking, because not only are you dealing with checking IDs and making sure there's not underage drinking, but you're also dealing with not making sure people are not overserved and the like. So there's certainly a heightened knowledge from Patrick's perspective about the the seriousness of making sure that you are a good steward of the license and of the liquor license. In this particular case, it's off premises. You go into Lambert's, as I'm sure you all know, and you buy it and you take it off and you drink it somewhere else. So there's no issues about pouring or over serving or things of that nature. It's simply, the biggest issue is making sure you check IDs and things of that nature. And in this case, where Oliver and Planks, about 35% is liquor related. Less than 3% of the business of Lambert's is really related to the alcohol sales. It's more of the sandwiches and the market itself. So, again, in that sense, I would suggest that, Patrick, being already an owner of a restaurant locally, is well qualified. He's not had any disciplinary actions in the town of Yarmouth, which I think is very important. I think, as Patrick noted to me, they've received awards for Best Bar on Cape a couple years in a row.
2 years in a row by the Cape Cod Times.
So,
We're proud of that.
yeah. And I submitted to Melissa this morning. Ann has been tip certified for off-premises. So that is, obviously something that the board wants to know. So again, Ann specifically has been in management before, so certainly well aware of how to manage, businesses. There's no direct history of alcohol related in her experience, but indirectly through, obviously, Patrick's ownership of the restaurant. But again, she is tips trained, does have management experience, so I think she is also well qualified in that regard. I don't know specifically whether it needs to be voted on as part of the liquor license, but I did note that the lender financing is requiring a pledge of the license as part of the financing. So if that needs to be included in any motion, if the board were to approve the license, but I'm not 100% sure whether that's required or not. But I just wanted to make that known. So with that, again, I don't want to, keep saying the same thing, but again, qualification is really the issue. And when you have somebody who is locally involved with a current liquor license without any disciplinary action, with certainly, a lot more sensitivity to the industry that he's in now, with 35% and pouring versus, what really is a limited sale of alcohol, I think that, Patrick is well qualified. So, with that, I'm happy to turn over any questions to the board for either Patrick or Ann.
Patrick, is any of the entrance and egress in the facility going to change?
We don't
physically?
plan to, no. We plan for the ingress egress to stay the same.
And our staff is pleased with the,
All sign-offs, police, fire, building, and Board of Health.
Great. great. Anyone from the public have any questions? Motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second.
Aye, it's unanimous.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous.
So you could make a motion?
Any other questions from the board? Okay.
Do you want me to make it?
Go ahead.
Make a motion that we approve the liquor license transfer of the annual off-premise wine and malt license from Lambert's of Cape Cod to Lambert's Mark Incorporated, 271 Katua Road, Ann Perry as the proposed manager.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous.
Hey, thank you so much.
Thank you very
Wishes
much.
for success.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Old business, fiscal year '26 budget update.
So nothing new to report. Unfortunately, we've not heard anything more from Maya on the insurance rates, and we haven't heard from our sort of partner communities in the Maya Joint Purchase Group. So I don't think they've released that yet. And we hope that's a good sign that they're really, taking a close look at the numbers to make sure, maybe waiting for additional monthly information to come in on experience. So they can do that very responsibly. And as you know, we've had very good luck with Maya in the past. We did get a little bit more detail from Maya on the some of the causes of the increases in insurance, and they unfortunately don't look like they're short-term issues. They're really much longer-term relative to the health insurance industry, the age of our communities, the types of claims, and the more frequent use of healthcare, as well as the use of non-emergency care centers. So all those things are, suggest that it's a longer-term cycle than a one-year blip, but we'll know more in the next couple of weeks about what this year looks like.
Oh.
We'd expected they said by Valentine's Day, so that would be next Friday.
Any questions for Heather on that one?
No,
Okay. Town Hall Restoration Community Preservation Act application.
So that was presented to the Community Preservation Committee. Myself, Bud, and our finance director, Bill Jennings, all attended the CPA meeting. And Bud did an excellent presentation, and included in your budget binders will be every CPA request that has been approved since its inception, including going back to those parcels that were acquired when the predecessor of the CPA, the Cape Cod Land Bank, allowed the town to buy some very significant properties. So it's a really impressive list of accomplishments. He also walked through some of the needs that he sees that the CPA ought to keep on their radar that are municipal needs, and that was really great. I think they appreciated that. We had an executive session where Bud talked about some specific confidential items relative that could potentially be funded in the future by the CPA, nothing currently active, but just to give them a heads up about where the town has been in terms of priorities for especially land acquisition. And then we did present in public the request for funding for the restoration of this building. And there were a lot of great questions. It was very warmly received. And I was pleasantly surprised that not only did they allow us to come in sort of outside the window for applications, but also approve the request at the same meeting. So we thought we'd be coming back for a second meeting, so it was nice to have the reception that we had. There was a request made by the public to include in the request and the funding to revisit having an accessible parking space for this building, which we will do. It will not be, it's more complicated than it seems. There's a lot of grade, drainage, and limited space to make that happen. In fact, I went back and looked at a 2011 award from the Architectural Access Board recognizing the accessibility that happened with this building, and I have to think if it were easy, it would have happened then, but we're taking on that obligation now. We'll take a look at it and bring those options back as part of the project. So looking forward to that. It will now we'll have it at the there's so many Cs. The Capital Improvement Planning Committee will have a chance to review and recommend on Monday or at a subsequent meeting, and then it will be presented to town meeting on the warrant. So the town will have an opportunity to vote. It really does give this building and the town the best shot for success by limiting the number of contracts that are involved in what is expensive but a relatively small scope, and just hopefully will allow for better preservation methods, better control over the construction. And when you're involved in historic preservation of a building like this, the records and the photography and just the decision-making, documentation are one of the most important things that you can do when you're working on an historic building. So we're really pleased to have the opportunity to do it. We'll be meeting next week with the architect and the project manager to plan to get the bids ready to go, and those will probably, we may be a little eager and get those out before town meeting. We won't have quotes back for town meeting, but it will allow us to move swiftly and so that we can work on the project in the good weather.
Great, this building is so important to the community. It's such a focus, and happy with the results.
Yeah.
And have we had any feedback from Historic yet?
We actually filed our application with them last week. It will be in 2 weeks, I think, will be the Historic Commission's. I have to imagine they'll be pleased with it. There's nothing that will change the appearance of the building, other than the windows will be, again, these are not original windows. We'll be putting new, restoration quality windows in that should improve the quality of the building. I also had the opportunity to speak with the chairperson of the Town Hall Preservation Trust, as well as the executive director of the Arts Alliance before we went to see the CPA. It happened very quickly. We wanted to give them a heads up. They're both incredibly supportive, offered their support if needed, but I think we are in good shape at this time.
And the parking space, too, is such an important aspect, the
Yeah.
accessibility. I can remember when the parking spot was designated, all of the discussion that
Yes.
went into it. It's a very, unfortunately, in certain respects, a complex issue, and I think we'll find a solution.
We'll be
Yes.
back.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much. Okay. Draft of the short-term rental bylaw for annual town meeting. Anybody have any,
Yeah, I'll just give you a brief,
Comments,
just
or-
for your benefit and the public.
please?
Again, this will be appearing on the warrant for the Springtown meeting. It is required by the state for all communities to have a short-term rental bylaw to regulate that use. And again, it goes hand in hand with the article at the last town meeting where we created the revolving fund that allows us to charge for the inspections for short-term rentals. And it really is very much safety-minded, and it relates to, occupant safety of those buildings. We're ready to initiate that program. We've worked with Leanne Drake. The planning board offers this draft to us. They were very kind in providing their services as really the experts in this type of regulatory process. They've drafted it for the select board, who will have to present it to the public. So when we're ready with a final draft, and I got a note from Bob that we'll make an editorial change here, we'll bring it back for a public hearing. And Ms. Drake has offered to be here for the public hearing, and then that would be promulgated by the select board.
Great, so there's nothing that we have to do this evening?
No.
We're just moving it along?
And I said it needs to go to the warrant. It doesn't need to go to the warrant. It goes to the select board, It's a local bylaw. The select board has the authority to do that. So this doesn't go back to town meeting, but you'll be the authority that endorses it.
Thank you.
Shall I go?
Sure.
Are these guidelines along with state guidelines, or where did they come from?
Yes, I believe these came from some drafts that were proffered by the state and working with it. It's all very,
Basic
yes.
guidelines, okay.
And a lot of it comes from the updates to the state building code that happened just last month.
There's just one thing, I read through this today, one of the things that caught my eye was the penalties. And this is something I think that we should look at, because $100, $200, and $300 for each penalty, and then there's a cap of $5,000 on the penalty for violating this. My only thoughts on that is that, some of these rental units are going for $10,000 a week. So if you're capped at $5,000, there's no, why wouldn't you keep violating it? Because you just cut the check for $5,000 and keep making money beyond that. So, especially if it gets into an enforcement situation where it's a problem and you're gonna hit that cap, I could see people walking in and just cutting a check for $5,000 and saying, this is for this upcoming season.
Interesting point.
I don't know the
Based on
answer,
some
but
of the
we,
people that,
Yes.
this is from my own personal
Yes.
experience in the real estate, world, is that I could, in having dealt with a similar situation down Cape, that I could see that happening. And I don't know if that's a mass general law cap on the civil
it
penalty.
might be it's referencing a specific general law
Right.
here. That's my assumption, but I will make sure that we have an answer for you.
Because it's a violation
Yeah.
for $100. It's
Yes.
$10,000 a week. It's,
Yeah, this is under section 1206 over
Yes,
there?
yeah. Because like anything, I've heard similar situations where they said, I'll cut you the check at the beginning of the season.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I
Anything else on this?
have. No?
Other matters not reasonably anticipated by the chairman. Anything on the RFP for the annex?
I am meeting with Leanne Drake, the Director of Community Development, tomorrow afternoon to work a schedule for that. We're planning to do the marketing in late February, early March, so that we have a spring, tour and opening in the March timeframe. We have just received a review from Town Council yesterday, who wants to talk with us about a few things. So we're getting closer, but it's a little slower than we'd expected, but we're getting there.
Very timely. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Okay. Other matters not reasonably anticipated by the chairman under new business? I have none. Okay. Opportunity for public comment. Closing remarks.
Just one thing, I know Heather was gonna talk about the possibility, there's a snowstorm coming this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
For everybody to be safe, and then I don't know if that,
Well, I can give you two, I'm sorry.
no, good, that's all I was gonna say, is just, it's a bit, 6 to 9 inches is gonna be the first real snow of the year.
Yes. And I think, we're thankful that it's happening on a weekend. That does help everyone. But you'd asked about a warming center. I haven't heard that the warming center itself will be open and called in that way, but we do have weekend hours at the Center for Active Living. I was just looking for them. I don't have them for you. And of course, the library is also open, depending on what's happening with the snowfall. But I'll do some homework tomorrow, and we'll do some communication around what might be available. That's a good suggestion.
Terrific. Yes, Chief Burke should be
Yes.
involved in that
Yep.
discussion as well, right?
And there's plenty, for people at home, there's plenty of resources, that the town has. Don't sit in a cold house and think you can tough it out.
Right.
Make the call.
Call us.
Right.
Call the police department,
Right.
main line. Let them know what you need, and we'll help.
Yep, there will be a response. Okay. Closing remarks. Please maintain those under attack in Eastern Europe, the conflict in the Middle East, the overall threats to world peace, as well as those that continue to be affected by natural emergencies in our thoughts and prayers. Motion to close.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next meeting is Thursday, February 13th at 7 PM here in Historic Town Hall. Have a good evening and a safe weekend. Thank you.
That was a good reminder. Thank you. I know, I know. Have fun. Snowstorm, Super Bowl, like